And hello, one and all, and welcome to our live review for tonight's edition of Monday Night Raw, the August 15th, 2016 edition of Raw, emanating from Corpus Christi, Texas. This was the go home edition to SummerSlam 2016. We're here to break down and give our full thoughts and opinions on everything that took place on tonight's 3 hour show. And with me, I have a special guest, my good friend Mike. Mike, it's great to once again have you on for a Raw review.
Thank you, Dan. As usual, I always love being on the show.
So now that we got everything fixed, all the bugs worked out, we're up and running. Let's first just get into our thoughts and opinions on Raw tonight. Did you feel it accomplished its goal in getting you excited, hyped for SummerSlam? Mike, we'll start with you. What were your just overall thoughts on this episode of Raw?
I felt that it was all right. It was better than last week's, but as you said before we got started about a couple minutes ago, it did kind of slow down that last hour. I feel like the last hour wasn't where it was supposed to be. I felt like it had the wrong segment or match on and also probably should not have had that Rusev versus Reigns match at all on Raw tonight because it just wasn't necessary, and I feel like it really took out the hype for the match for Sunday, I felt.
I agree. I mean, when I heard them announce that match, I was thinking, okay, it's not going to happen. The bell will ring and it'll break down into a chaos and brawl. We didn't get that tonight. What did we get? We got 25 minutes of them going at it. And I'm sorry, that's stupid. The stupid idiots that booked that 6 days away from your pay-per-view. So why should you want to see them go at it again?
I mean, it was a decent match. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was a little bit long, but why couldn't they just wait to do that Sunday? Because that would have been I would have been all right with that for Sunday for their match.
But here you gave away a lot of stuff, and I was like, and I mentioned this, in my post on Twitter about Night of Champions. Remember in 2014 they did the same thing. 6 days before, what did they do? Reigns versus Rollins in the main event of Raw, and that was just baffling. And Reigns won. Just like he won tonight. And, it's just like...
I mean, the only reason why I would think back then they might have done that is because they might have been having that match Sunday more so on the storyline effect of probably Ambrose returning. But, I mean, it wasn't completely something I agree with, but I think it could have been a possibility as to why they might have done that. But tonight, it's like, what could they possibly do Sunday that's going to be any different than what they did tonight, I
mean, yeah, the title's going to be on the line, but you gave away a lot in this match, and it would have been more special if you just saved off and, like you said, did a segment or a brawl like I wanted to see, just a big pull apart, something like that just kept these two as far apart from one another and made you want to salivate, made you want to anticipate seeing them fight on Sunday. We're still looking forward to that match, but we aren't
not as hyped about it as I would have been before tonight, probably.
Exactly. So that was our problem with the main event tonight. So since we already talked about that, we won't recap that. So if you missed it, Reigns and Rusev, that was the main event tonight. Reigns went over with the spear. So let's get into the show and how it kicked off, and we'll go from there. So tonight we kicked things off with first we had Seth Rollins looking for the demon. He was looking in the parking lot. He was looking backstage. I liked this. I liked how they had Rollins on edge here and how he didn't know when the demon was going to appear. And we get to that later on in the show. But Raw actually kicked off with Lana and Rusev. They were in the ring. Rusev was irate. He said that the show was not going to go on, and unless Roman Reigns came down and apologized. He eventually calls out Mick Foley and eventually calls out Stephanie McMahon and says that they disrespect him as champion. Rusev threatens to go over to SmackDown. Eventually, Roman Reigns comes down to the ring and he cracks some jokes. They were decent. They weren't too funny, but they were what it was. Excuse me. And then they eventually add the stipulation for tonight's match. It was Reigns versus Rusev announced to defend Lana's honor. So, Mike, how did you feel about the way Raw kicked off tonight?
I mean, this was I was okay with, I mean, and it made sense to have this go first because Rusev was protesting against Raw pretty much for the disrespect that he feels he got, and especially the disrespect that Lana got, which I felt it made sense. And then when they said that they were going to have the stipulation for the match being involved in like Lana's honor, it's like, I'm okay, but it's like they could have done something different. Like it could have been like, oh, you should like watch your back tonight, Reigns, because I can come and get you like no matter what. It just had just a backstage segment, and then that could have been it for the build up for their match for tonight instead of the main event.
Right, we didn't need to see them go 25 minutes on this show tonight, but of course they have 3 hours to fill, so
gotta fill up somehow.
It's tough. It's very tough. So that was okay. Like I said, an okay opening segment. I enjoyed this next match. It was between Sheamus versus Sami Zayn. I think these two have good chemistry and work very well with one another. And I really liked how the fact that Cesaro was able to help Sami get the win with the distraction, and eventually to Sheamus, and Zayn was able to get the haluva kick for the win. So it was nice to see Sami Zayn appear on Raw this week. Last week he was on Superstars, and I didn't like that. But the important thing was, backstage after this, we had Cesaro and Sheamus brawling. They were fighting each other. They had to be broken apart by referees. And the important thing was, Mick Foley came in. He said that Cesaro and Sheamus, going to be having a best-of-7 series, and that series kicks off this Sunday at SummerSlam. I like this. Something different, fresh. Mike,
very different.
Cesaro versus Sheamus in a best-of-7 series.
Very different. And at the beginning of this whole feud, like they said, these are two guys who weren't completely happy about going to Raw, and they're two guys that I feel that could easily get lost in the shuffle on the Raw roster, but they're both trying to make a name for themselves and gain more attention to the Raw roster. And I definitely think having some more matches and a best-of-7 series, which is something I did not expect at all, completely different off the wall. I'll take it. I think we'll be able to help one of them in the long run, which preferably I hope it will be for Cesaro.
Yeah, Cesaro needs to benefit from this in the long run. And I like the idea of a best-of-7 series. It adds weight, gives credence to these matches, because wins and losses do matter, and I'm sick and tired of 50-50 booking. So hopefully, they can trade wins and losses here, but in the end, somebody needs to come out, stand strong and tall and dominant out of this best-of-7 series. And like you said, that needs to benefit Cesaro more than anyone else. I'm completely fine with them doing this, and I look forward to the series kicking off at SummerSlam. So after this, we segue into the New Day versus the Dudley Boys. It was a fast match. Kofi won with the Trouble in Paradise, so that really wasn't the story of this. Eventually, Anderson and Gallows got on the microphone, or on the Titantron, and they pretty much were saying that they were doing their whole doctor shtick gimmick. And they were talking. They opened a microwave up. They put an egg inside of it and loaded. I'm like, what the hell are we watching here? It was funny stuff. Anderson said they need more test subjects, and they placed 2 more jars on the microwave that are marked Kofi, and the other says Xavier. And eventually, Woods and Kingston say that Anderson and Gallows will never get their hands on their New Day rocks. So, kind of funny stuff here. I mean, the match was throwaway before this, but I enjoyed what they did tonight with the club and the New Day. And later on in the evening, the New Day would attempt to seek revenge after the club beat down the Golden Truth. Kofi and Xavier would run down to the ring and blindside the club, and they tried to hit, I believe it was Anderson in the nuts with Francesca. But
I would have loved that.
Gallows pulled him away at the last minute. So that was good. I like I said, what did you think about the stuff they did tonight between the club and the New Day?
I definitely think this definitely made this feud a little more exciting. I mean, it was all right at first, but I just couldn't quite understand at first why the club was getting a shot at the titles when they just came off of a team loss at Battleground, and then they lost again to the New Day, and then they're getting the title shot, and I'm like, why is this happening? But then I do like how they try to take their biggest weapon, New Day, out and Big E out with, as they call it, Ring Post Itis. And this segment tonight with this whole doctor gimmick they're putting on the club, I definitely think was funnier and definitely got me a little more interested. However, I'm still not quite sure if I want the New Day to drop the titles this Sunday. I mean, I feel like it might be time, but I'm just a little worried that the direction they're going to go with the New Day after dropping the titles. Because
Right.
I mean, I don't know. It's like I'm worried they're going to have like Big E come back from his injury and say, "Oh, I never lost the titles. It wasn't my fault we lost," and they would split the New Day up. Big E won his own little push. Like, I don't want to see the New Day split yet. So that's why I'm just a little concerned about the New Day losing the titles at this point.
That's a valid point, and it definitely will be interesting to see what happens once Big E returns. So, good points made there. We'll have to see what happens at SummerSlam. We had a squash match. It was Nia Jax versus Rachel Levy. Nia beat the holy hell out of this woman, pushed her, like literally, Levy was on the top of the rope and Nia pushed her out, and she took a nasty spill to the outside. Looked like she smacked her head off the padding on the floor. Eventually, Jax tosses her back inside the ring and hits the Simone power slam for the win. I really like the fact that she's doing something different than that leg drop. I really wasn't a big fan of Nia Jax using the leg drop. I really feel the Simone power slam works better for her. So that was what it was. We then had this really good in-ring segment. It was Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. Paul comes out, and this really shocked both of us. I know we were both shocked. Before they could even begin talking, Heath Slater, of all freaking people, the one-man rock band, baby.
The hottest free agent in the WWE.
Yeah, Heath Slater comes down to the ring. Apparently he had a death wish tonight. He says that, the people in charge of Raw and SmackDown Live can't see that, he's the hottest free agent in WWE, and that he wants to prove himself, and that tonight, if he can get in the ring and beat Brock Lesnar, he will get a Raw contract. And Heyman's just laughing him off. Heyman is thinking, this guy is the biggest, stupidest idiot I've ever seen in my life. And then Slater says that it's because of his kids. The kids depend on him. And then Brock grabs the mic, and I'm thinking, what's going to happen here? And then Brock says, he has kids too. And I'm thinking, Brock understands. Brock knows what Heath has to go through to put that food on the table. And then Brock and Heath get face to face, and then Lesnar says, I love this line, I don't give a shit about your kids.
And he said it too at the same tone also. Like, his tone never changed at all.
No, it did. It was just, I love when Lesnar said that. He beat the holy hell, took Heath Slater to Suplex City, hit him with an F5, and then Heyman talks up how Lesnar is the conqueror of the Broctagon, and then how at SummerSlam he will defeat the Viper Randy Orton. And I like the interaction between Slater and Lesnar, and then Heyman talking up and selling me on Orton versus Lesnar. I could listen to Heyman talk all day. Mike, what were your thoughts on this segment?
Definitely didn't see Heath Slater coming out first off, but it made kind of sense. I mean, I was wondering if maybe Orton would either show up somehow tonight, but I felt that if he did, it would have felt not as like special as it did a few weeks ago whenever he showed up and did the RKO. But I like how they use somebody like Slater in there as like, as like a prop or something like that to like show like just have Lesnar get a little physical and show like what he can do for Sunday. Right, yeah. I like that they did that, and then they continue out with the promo. And I like Heyman had to look on like, well, anyways, let's continue on here. But definitely really hyped for this match. I mean, I don't think I could really make a pick right now who I think would win this match, but I definitely am really hyped for this.
It can go either way, as we've been saying. So good stuff all around here. We're then going to move on to the next match. It was Big Cass versus Kevin Owens. I liked where this match was going. Of course, the match came to an end when Jericho blindsided Enzo, pushed him into the ring steps. Cass went for the chase, and Jericho attacked Cass. This eventually led to the beatdown by Jericho and Owens, who I thought were gold tonight in that backstage promo.
Oh, yes.
I am loving Jericho. They're quickly becoming one of my favorite. I knew they were going to be. I kept saying, if they put these two together as a tag team, they're going to be fucking entertaining.
Oh, yes.
And what happened? They're gold. I mean, they're just great. Jericho and his what's the word I'm looking for? He's troll. He's trolling everybody. He is just such a great heel. And Owens with
excellent
his attitude, they just work so well together. And I like the beatdown that they gave to cast. Jericho hit the code breaker, and this should be a nice match at SummerSlam. I'm really looking forward to seeing the reaction that Enzo and Big Cass get. Mike, your thoughts on what transpired tonight, the team of Jericho and the match at SummerSlam?
Yes, definitely. Both of these teams are really solid on the microphone. Like, all four of these guys know how to be entertaining on the mic. And like you said before, too, Jericho and Owens, really solid team. As I said too, during the show when I was texting you, they're both really solid at talking trash on everybody too. And yeah, just all around, I think not just entertaining on the mic, but I think overall this is going to be an excellent match on Sunday.
Yes, it most certainly will. So it's going to be nice seeing Enzo and Cass get that huge hometown reaction. So that's something I am definitely looking forward to seeing. So after this, we had, like I said, a little backstage brawl between Reigns and Rusev. Eventually, they were separated, and we moved on to the in-ring segment with, this was probably the highlight of the show for me, Seth Rollins getting in the ring, along with a fan trying to almost attack him. Security had to pull the fan away. I was like, what the hell's going on here?
I thought first it was just some random person they wanted to run into, trick Rollins, thinking it was him. But I really liked how Rollins, played on that, saying, "Are you Demon King?" I don't think so. I really like how he played on that. So,
the one thing, real quick, minor gripe here, when they say Demon King, I can't help think of Demon Kane.
I can't either. And then the announce. Well, I'll get to that afterwards. I don't want to go too far here.
Sure, but it's just like, I just call him the Demon.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, Demon King. It sounds too similar. Minor issue, but back to what happened here. The Demon King comes down to the ring. Balor's there in full robe, full attire, which I wish they saved for SummerSlam, but it does make sense. I was reading some tweets on Twitter tonight about how Raw is broadcast to a large majority of your audience, so this is really Balor's first opportunity to show these fans, the casuals and whatnot, who he is as Finn Balor, as the Demon. And I guess that sense it does make sense, but I would have liked to have seen them hold off till SummerSlam. However, I thought the stare down between Rollins and Balor was great stuff, and then Balor and Rollins going at it, trying to hit he hits Rollins with the Pele kick, goes for the coup de grace, but Rollins moves out of the way, and Rollins just has this look of terror on his face, like, how the hell am I going to beat this guy? Mike, what did you think of the Demon debuting tonight on Raw? Would you have saved it for SummerSlam? How do you feel about what happened in this segment and whatnot?
I feel that it would have felt – I mean, I do think it would have been all right waiting until SummerSlam for it, but I feel that it would have been all right if they would have saved this for last. This should have been on last instead of the Reigns and Rusev match. But yes. I mean, other than that, like you said, for too, Demon King, and the announcers are using it too, and they're calling him Demon King. Like, just call him the Demon. Just call him Finn Balor. It just sounds like I keep thinking I'm hearing Demon Kane again. It's just like, for crying out loud. I don't need somebody compared to Demon Kane. This is Finn Balor, the Demon. Leave it alone.
This is a side issue, but do you remember that one episode of Raw when Bryan had to run away with Brie in the car from the
Demon? Don't even remind me of that.
It just reminds me how many times they remember it's Demon Kane. It's Demon Kane.
Demon Kane. Just say Kane, for crying out loud. I mean,
he's banging on the door. She's like, Demon Kane, Demon Kane. That's all they said. That was off, but it just, they overuse it a little bit much.
Definitely,
here. Yeah. He did it. He's the Demon.
Yeah, but anyways, other than that, I mean, I do like how they set this up, and I really was happy they still gave the smoky, dark effect to it sure. Though. It's like, with main roster, they take away some of those special effects all the time, but I was really glad they kept that spot on. I would have felt okay with this being the final thing on Raw. It could have felt like an Undertaker return or something like that. You know what I mean? Just the way this entrance is.
A presence about it.
Exactly. That's exactly how I think it would have felt. They would have had this on last.
So disappointing it wasn't on last, but yeah. We're almost wrapping up with this review. Like I said, we already talked about Anderson and Gallows and the New Day stuff. Then we had Charlotte versus Alicia Fox. Really wasn't a fast match. Charlotte wins with natural selection. Eventually, Charlotte goads Sasha Banks into the ring, and eventually Banks gets attacked by Dana Brooke, and Charlotte eventually takes out Sasha with the figure eight. I really think Charlotte here. I really like her work as a heel. I think she's improved massively since she arrived on the main roster and eventually made her heel turn in December. Mike, you mentioned the fact that Charlotte, made you believe that maybe Dana Brooke and her will be splitting up, but it was a ploy that eventually led to this attack on Sasha.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like when I saw that she was calling her in for a fight. That, okay, she has something up her sleeve. Is somebody else going to be joining her? But then when I saw Dana over there, I'm at first thinking maybe Dana came out to attack her as well. But then I saw that was not the case. And I'm just like, whoa! Like she was really convincing there that I thought would have that they really were like going their separate ways. But that really made me think like I know Dana's banned Sunday, but like is there going to be something else up her sleeve? But despite the fact that I still see Sasha retaining on Sunday. So
absolutely. And that's it. Mike, we hit everything. We talked about pretty much everything. Maybe there were a couple things we missed. But yeah, that was Raw tonight. Let's give our overall thoughts, our grades. Mike, what grade would you give tonight's edition of Raw?
I'm going to give my grade right here, but there's actually one more grade I wanted to ask you also after I give my grade. I want to give this a B minus. I mean, I think despite that last hour, it was an all right show, but I think what kind of affecting my grade a little bit was the fact that they didn't put the right segment on last, and they overdid the Reigns and Rusev build up tonight. What I wanted to also ask you though is it's been 3 or 4 weeks since the brand split's gone into effect. Just like your quick thoughts, what would you give the overall production of the brand split so far, Dan?
You mean which show's been better?
Not really which show's been better, but if you could grade like the brand split, do you think the brand split's been successful so far, or do you think that
it's early? I'd give it a solid C plus, maybe B minus. That's where I'm on the fence about the effort of the brand split. I'd say B minus.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page right now. I mean, it's had me not extremely excited, but it's had me still like interested moving forward to see what's going on so far.
Sure. Yeah. So you gave Raw a B minus. I was debating in my head what grade I should give tonight's show. I'm going to go with a solid C plus. I was debating in my head. I thought it was obviously a better show than last week, and there were several things I liked on this show. But for a go-home show, I wanted a little bit more.
I understand. Yeah, I get it.
And you have to keep that in context. And yeah, so that's why I gave it a C plus. Enjoyed it. It was average. It was good, but it didn't go to that next level for me.
Yeah, it didn't quite capitalize, I feel.
Yes, there were several missed opportunities. So real quick, before we sign off here, I asked a poll on Twitter tonight. I'm going to be starting to do this for my Raw and SmackDown reviews. Here are what you guys said. A total of 9 of you have voted so far. 44% gave it a thumbs up, 22% gave it thumbs down, and 34% gave Raw a thumbs in the middle. So very, very opinionated poll right here, more leaning towards thumbs up and thumbs in the middle. So kind of sits with our opinions right there. So just wanted to throw that out there. So Mike, before we sign off here, you're certainly welcome to get that plug-in for your channel.
Yeah, as usual, whenever I'm on Dan's channel, I do, some stuff for wrestling, some stuff just for my own benefit. But make sure if you check out my channel, which is the Club of the Man 1993, check out my my recently SummerSlam predicted match card as well as my NXT Takeover predicted match card. I'm going to be doing my usual top 10 topic shows sometime this week, talking about certain topics, and we'll rebrand it. I did because of the brand split. But once again, so subscribe to my channel at the Club of the Man 1993.
All right, good stuff. And Mike, once again, thank you for joining me for this live review. And thank you all, not a problem, for tuning into this live Raw review. Remember to catch me tomorrow night for my live SmackDown review. I'll be having on special guest Nerd Coalition, so it'll be great to have him back on with me. So that should be good. Hopefully the final SmackDown before SummerSlam is better than Raw. We'll have to see. So yeah, thank you all for tuning into this live Raw review, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night. or SmackDown Live review. Till then, take care, everybody. Good night.